Good evening, my dear fangs. Welcome back to the cavern. Tonight's movie review is Knock at the Cabin, which is an M. Night Shyamalan film. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I do apologize if I pronounced it wrong. I hate pronouncing people's names wrong because I've had my name pronounced wrong numerous times. I know it's probably weird, but it is what it is. I'll admit, I'm not a huge fan of his films. Most of the movies have been hit or miss for me. I think the only film I've actually liked that he directed was The Sixth Sense. Although, unfortunately, once you know the twist, it's hard to watch it again because it doesn't have that same feeling as when you first watched it. Kind of that, what's going on, what happened. I know some people said that you already knew the twist ending, but I didn't. I had, speculations, but I didn't know until they actually told you. The Visit was the only other one that was kind of okay, I guess. I wouldn't put it up there at, in the same part as The Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense is so much better than The Visit, is what I'm trying to say. Yes, The Visit was freaky. It had a nice element to it, twist element to it, but I don't know. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I guess you could say I was hoping for more. So I had my reserves about Knock at the Cabin being any good. However, I heard a lot of good things, which led me to giving it a watch. I thought it had an interesting plot, one that I didn't see coming. It is available to stream on Peacock for those of you interested in giving this one a try. There will be spoilers from here on. If you haven't seen it, go give a watch, unless you don't care if I spoil the movie for you. I don't like people spoiling it, movies for me, so I always warn everybody before I spoil it. At first, I thought this was going to be your typical home invasion film. I was surprised that it didn't follow the same tropes as those, and I thought it was kind of interesting that they made their own weapons. Kudos to that, because that's not something you see in most movies. And the tropes that I'm talking about that they didn't really follow is the intruders in most home invasion films torture or kill the homeowners. Scream, trying to think of other home invasion movies. The Strangers, they kind of tortured and killed the couple. There's been quite a few, actually, and I just can't think of them for some odd reason off the top of my head. Although, I guess watching these intruders kill each other to get the homeowners to make their decision could be considered torture. Especially with how graphic some of the murders were. Although we didn't see it, but they did. I'm actually kind of happy that they didn't show the brutality. Just because it seems like horror movies are getting a little too over the top with gore these days. And I don't have a problem with gore. I like my Saw films, but, Terrifier 2 just took gore to a whole other level, and one I never thought was possible, I guess you could say. Yeah, I had never finished that movie. I still haven't finished it. I'm not planning on it. It was too much for me. Way too much for me. The first one, the ending was a little too much for me. So, yeah. I think it was the ending. It was either the ending or the beginning. It was one or the other. I think it was the ending. I believe it was the ending. Anyways, doesn't matter. So, it was a nice change of pace from what I've seen so far. It was interesting that after each intruder died, strange natural disasters occurred, which made it feel like they were telling the truth. That if a choice wasn't made, the end of days was upon them. And humanity would be wiped out. And my problem with that is everybody only focuses on humanity. What about all of life on Earth? I mean, all of life would be wiped out. Not just humans, but everything. And I think that's horrible. That everything would be gone. We take things for granted, I think. I think us humans take a lot of things for granted. I think we take life for granted. I think we take living things for granted. And we don't appreciate anything. It's something that I've come to realize, I guess you could say. But anyways, who cares about any of that? I did read that the four intruders were the four horsemen. That's a fan theory. The problem I had with this was the colors of their shirts. They weren't accurate to the four horsemen's colors of their horses. They are green, white, red, and black. I forget who's each, like who is each one, which color represents what. And the disasters that occurred after each of their deaths also didn't line up with the four horsemen. Now, if one of them, like after one of their deaths, a plague broke out, that would make sense because one of them is pestilence. And then you have famine. I don't think they're one and the same. I always forget what's like what. I know death or that's pretty much it. The other two I always mix up. And war, shouldn't there have been like a massive war that broke out? I don't know. I'm just saying it just didn't seem to line up with that theory for me. It does make sense though. Well, I guess it kind of makes sense for people to think that they were the four horsemen just because, if I remember correctly, could be completely wrong. It's been a long time since I've studied anything Christian. But weren't the four horsemen the bringers of the apocalypse or the start of the apocalypse or something like that? I think they come before it starts or happens or whatever. Let me know if I'm right or wrong in that in the comments. I'm okay with it. You can just educate me. It's fine. And you can also educate me on the four horsemen and everything else. That's fine, because I always mess that up. Since it was a different film from what I was expecting, and I like Dave Bautista as an actor. He, is pretty good. I've only seen him in, I think, Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avenger movie. Forget which one. Don't judge me. I'm not a huge fan of the superhero movies, and I love Marvel. I'm a huge Marvel fan for the comics, but I'm just not a big fan of the movies. There's a lot of things that I just don't like, but we're not talking about this. So, Knock at the Cabin, I'd give this one a 4 out of 5 because I would watch it again, even though I know what happens in the end. It's still an intense movie. Let me know what you thought of this one in the comments below. What did you think of the intruders? Do you think they were the four horsemen or something else entirely? Let me know in the theories, like all your theories and comments. Tuesday, I'm returning to Diablo 4 since that game has been on pause for a while. Although I might be returning to Baldur's Gate 3 since I'm loving it so far. I've been playing that over WoW, so that should tell you something. I actually got pretty far with my Drow Necromancer. I actually remade my character and started over because I didn't realize that there was a big update and the game I was playing was not the released version. It was the version that was out, I think, like a few years ago. I didn't know that the update happened later. That's okay, though. So, I remade my character, and I also made 5 others. I like other classes and I want to try them, especially since I really like this. This game is really cool. If you are a huge fan of RPGs or love D&D, go check it out. I highly recommend this game. It is challenging. There's a lot of strategy, but it has an incredible cast of characters and the story is interesting. I don't know much about it yet. I like how there's other side stories to explore as well. It makes the game feel much larger, especially with how the side stories are kind of intricate and long. I also like how there's tons of exploration. It's actually how I found some of the companions that help you out in battle and kind of you interact with and things like that. And it's also tough trying to figure out what the best choice is for each interaction because they all have consequences. Sometimes it can ruin or improve your relationship with your companions. Or it can have other consequences like starting a battle or losing some extra, what do you want to call it? I can't even think today. Manpower, I guess you could call it, because I actually recruited some ogres to be my muscle. All I have to do is use a horn to call them. That's pretty cool. Oh, I haven't used it yet. So what I'm probably going to do for all of you is start a totally new game with one of my other characters. If I can prevent myself from playing with the Drow Necromancer that I made, once I get to where I am, I'll switch over to my Necromancer so you can see what's going on, how I've been doing, and what I'm trying to do with this character. I'm trying not to make her evil or good. I'm trying to make like this kind of gray character. Neither good nor bad. It's just a lot of fun trying to do that as well, because you don't want this like horrible character, because then you might piss off your companions completely. But sometimes during certain interactions, sometimes it seems like the best option just to make the enemy think that you're like them, and once they leave, you can just be really nice to the person that you're trying to save or rescue or whatever. That's what I've been doing. Kind of manipulation, which is horrible, but it works to my benefit in the game. So next Friday, this movie review will be Hellraiser, the remake. I think it's a remake or spin-off. I'm not really sure what that is, to be honest. I just know it's on Hulu, for those of you interested in giving it a watch. I was recommended Hellraiser by a few people on Twitter, and I decided to check it out. If there's a horror movie you'd like me to watch and review, let me know in the comments. Fair warning, there are some horror movies that I will absolutely not watch. If they have themes of animal abuse, torture, I usually stay away from those. Sometimes I don't know, it's in a movie and I watch it and I'm in for a rude awakening, I guess you could say. I don't even like when animals are, killed off in movies, but if they're killed off, like off screen, or you don't know about it, I'm pretty good. It's a lot easier than watching the animal get killed or tortured or whatever. I hate it. The other theme that I don't like is sexual assault, abuse, torture. I know people are gonna say, well, Saw is a torture film. Saw is a tough one for me, okay? can't say one way or the other. I know that's probably from my own moral compass, but it's not the same as watching Hostel. I've seen Hostel. That movie is pure torture. Completely 100%. I hated that movie. It was so hard for me to watch. Another movie that has a big torture session in it is Prisoners, and that was a very hard watch. I struggled through that. I actually haven't seen it since. That movie kind of scarred me. Every time I see people recommend it, it's like, I already watched it. I'm not watching that again. Nope. I'm good. So, Saw is a little different. I will say after Saw 4, it's a lot worse. I actually have a hard time watching the Saw movies after 4. I usually have to skip some scenes. I'll admit that to you. So keep those in mind when you do recommend a horror movie in the comments. And I do look them up to see if any of those things are in the movie before I watch. Sometimes I don't because I don't want the movie ruined too much for me. So sometimes it is still a a shock. So leave those in the comments though. I hope you have a fabulous weekend. Take care until next time. Bye everyone.